Hello everyone, this is Dan Fitzpatrick, the AI educator, and it's a genuine pleasure to share a few thoughts with you today about the educational crossroads we stand at. And I believe that we are at a crossroads right now. And what worries me is that I don't think many people are noticing that we are, because a lot of people have a linear view of education. And what I mean by that is they see education progressing in a linear way. So within the current confines, within the current processes, within the current systems. And why wouldn't you think like this? This is kind of all we've had. It's all I've known. It's all my parents, my grandparents have known. And we've had this for a few centuries now where, and I grew up in Gateshead in the northeast of England, where you went to your local school, you were educated at primary level, then you went to your local secondary school or Catholic school, and then into a local college, or you stayed on for sixth form. It was a very, very linear way of doing school and very predictable for most cases. Now, within that, the education system didn't really have any competition, not real competition. And if we think, I work a lot in private, independent schools, there is some competition there. I have worked in further education colleges, and there's some competition there. Universities as well, there's a certain amount of competing going on. However, when we look under the cover of that competition, the actual provision isn't changing all that much. And we can talk about culture, we can talk about the types of staff that they have, maybe the types of strategies in which they approach things. However, if we're going to be honest with ourselves, not much is really all that different. Now, I think that's about to change. And I don't think we can get our heads around it, because we think that's how education is supposed to be. We go to primary school or prep school, then we go to a high school, and then we go to maybe a college, maybe a university if we want to. And what's the alternative? Our system is so ingrained in our society that, of course, there is no alternative, apart from if you want to homeschool, but there's kind of a lot of suspicion around homeschooling from most people. And by the way, I think there's some amazing homeschooling actually going on out there. So why are we at a crossroads here? Well, I think to a certain extent it's fueled by the artificial intelligence era that we are now entering. And I still say that we're now entering it because most of the population, and if we narrow that down to education, most schools still don't really know what they're dealing with artificial intelligence. And to be honest, every school doesn't really know what they're dealing with artificial intelligence in the long term, which is why it makes me laugh when I see guidance reports and papers produced by organizations that are kind of telling people this is what it is, this is how to deal with it, this is how it should be involved in learning, this is how it shouldn't be involved in learning. You're trying to catch lightning in a bottle here, as my friend David Price recently said about my book, actually, which is a quote on the back cover. But we're trying to, I think it's a self-admission that we're trying to catch lightning in a bottle. This is going to move very, very fast, and the capabilities we have not fully understood, and I don't think we will fully understand. I was listening to Mustafa Suleyman, the co-founder of DeepMind, on the Diary of a CEO podcast yesterday when I was on the train back from London. And this is a guy who's worked on the best AI in the world. His company have created Pi AI, which some of you might have heard of. He co-founded DeepMind, which was acquired by Google, and so was working at Google. And he even says in another interview I watched with him that Google had the equivalent of ChatGPT-4 back in 2017, 2018. So he's been working on this at the cutting edge, and even he doesn't fully know how this is going to play out. And not in the very long term, but even just in the next decade. And he talks about the need for containment and not just the need for it, but he makes the argument that we must contain it. But the one thing, and Stephen Bartlett, the interviewer, pressed him on this, is, do you think that we can? He doesn't know the answer to that. All he knows is that we must contain it, but he doesn't know if we actually can. So not even the people who are working on this know really where this is going to end up. So to have answers and to say this is how it's going to affect education, this is what it means for education, is quite futile. And in that vein, I'm going to try and do that myself, but more with an open mind, I think. And I think I often, when I'm talking, get people to think back to 1997 if they're old enough and think about what the internet was like in 1997. I remember my parents buying a computer, and we had it in the corner of the dining room, and I think we ended up sending it back after 2 months because we didn't use it. We didn't really know what it was for. I think my parents just read the hype and were hyped to buy a computer, but we didn't really know what to use it for. Remember, this was pre-Google days. This was very early browser days and very simple email. And if you think just within 10 years, from 1997 to 2007, the progress that happened, we had the birth of social media, leading up to 2007, when possibly one of the biggest moments in tech ever, which was Steve Jobs standing on a stage introducing the iPhone and kind of introducing the era of mobile and cloud-based technology that we now live in. Just in that 10 short years, who could have predicted back in 1997 that would have happened? I don't even think Steve Jobs could have done that. And so to try and predict where this technology, which is, by the way, is going to go a lot faster, is going to be in the next few years, and how it will affect education, for example, is quite a futile piece of work. However, saying that, I think to a certain extent it needs to be done. Not in a way where we are dictating to teachers, school leaders, schools, universities, this is how to use it and this is how not to use it. But I think in a way that's going to help us be prepared, because the future won't just be created for us. We will be active agents in that. Our intention matters if we want it to. And we need it to matter. We need to be involved in the conversations of integration and progression with this technology. Not to halt it, not to hold it back and follow that Luddite view, but to veer it in the right directions, veer it in a way that where we're going to benefit from it, and benefit from it in its entirety, not by restricting it and restricting its capability. So in that vein, I want to talk about this competition that I think our schooling system is on the brink of. And it's coming from private educational providers who you might not have heard of, but who are building school systems that solve the problems that our traditional schooling can't. Let me give you an example. Synthesis School out of California. Josh Darn, who was on my podcast that I do with Ben Whitaker and Stephen Hope, the Edufuturists. He's been on a few times, and he talks about how when Elon Musk asked him to start a school at SpaceX, and how he wanted him to focus on problem solving and collaboration as the main skills to build in those students, because those were the skills that would be needed to progress our world. And Josh went on to form Synthesis after that. He formed the online school Synthesis. Synthesis have just released an AI tutor. It's phenomenal. If you can actually go on and try it out at the Synthesis website and see how good it is. More and more online schools are going to do this. I'm a big fan of Sora Schools, who are a project-based learning online school. They're looking at using AI. Khan Academy are integrating Khan Amigo, an AI tutor. These private online schools are going to grow. And how long until our parents hear about this, our students hear about this? The fact that there's a solution out there that is relatively cheap, especially if you've got some disposable income, it's relatively cheap for your students to do this kind of schooling, and for them to actually learn skills that will get them snapped up by companies, innovative companies. Focused problem solving, focused collaborations. It's going to be a very interesting time, because it's going to grow. These companies are going to grow, and there's going to be competition. I was speaking to Gert Lienhardt again on the Edufuturist podcast about 6 months ago, and he is a big believer that the next $1 trillion company, the next Google, as it were, is going to be a private educational provider. The market's ripe for it. So we're going to see it. We are going to see it. And what's going to happen when some parents have the choice between sending their children to a local school that where the classrooms are overpopulated, where there's not enough specialist teachers, where, and if you're following the news in the UK at the moment, schools are potentially in danger of crumbling because of the way they were built, and so on, and the fact that a lot of schools' children are still taught by a teacher at the front of the classroom for majority of the time, and not encouraged to collaborate and to problem solve and to practice their communication skills and so on. All those things that the industries need in our area. And when I say that, I don't just mean this is all just for industry. This is to help our students thrive in a world where they will have to work, where they will have to show initiative, where they will have to get on and make something of their creativity and their skills within the framework of industries for most of them. I always remember when I was at Gateshead Stadium, so where I grew up, there's a stadium there, an athletic stadium. And at the time I was in a high school and I was the head of careers education. So I was overseeing careers education in the school, and I went to a conference at the stadium, and there were lots of employers getting up to speak to the teachers in the room. And the message was pretty much the same from every employer. It was, please teach these young people the skills that they need to get on in the workplace. They weren't bothered about grade A students. They weren't bothered about students who knew a lot. They wanted students who could learn, who knew how to learn. They wanted students who could look somebody in the eye and have a conversation, collaborate, communicate. They wanted students who could take initiative. And they were finding that students were coming out of school with good grades, top grades in a lot of cases, and didn't have those skills. What are we preparing our students for? And if we're not preparing them for a successful life ahead, then somebody else, another option, is going to swoop in and offer that, because that's the type of world we live in. Now, I think we've had it good for a long time, especially state education has had it good for a long time in terms of not having competition. And I mean in terms of having competition because there's a lot of other areas where state schooling struggles. And a lot of that is down to politics. A lot of that is down to a weighty system that struggles under the weight of its own tradition, struggles under the weight of how we've always done it. But when our system is struggling under that weight, a more agile system will come in. A more agile system that can change, that can help our children adapt, will come in. We need leadership. We need true leadership here. And if the only constant in this world is change, which I think the progress with AI has proven, then adaptability has to be at the center of our leadership. It has to be at the center of our strategy, which for me, strategy is essentially just leadership for tomorrow, leadership for next year, for 10 years time. We need leaders to rise up who can do that. I truly believe that. I truly believe that we need those types of leaders to rise up, who are willing to be motivated by competition, because that's what's going to be needed now. And part of me, I mean, don't get me wrong, part of me is loving the fact that there's solutions there. And I've got a 2 and a 3-year-old who I mention quite regularly in my talks, and you better believe they'll be doing synthesis. You better believe it, because I know that exists. I know that the skills that synthesis will be able to impart to them and help them in their development. And I can't, as a parent, just not let them do that. They will be doing that. And how many months, years is it going to take until a lot of our parents have that realization as well, and see the alternatives out there? So my issue is, what about those parents who can't afford it? Can't afford even just an extra bit of money to use one of these private educational providers if and when they come? Well, they're going to need our state education system to be top notch, to keep up, so that there isn't a great divide. And we're seeing that divide. I mean, we're seeing that divide at the moment by schools who are embracing AI and schools who just don't want anything to do with it. Just think of the students who are going to come out of those schools in a few years' time. Students who know about AI, who have been taught good skills around AI, and students who haven't. That we're already living in that gap, and we need to close gaps, not widen them, especially when it comes to our children and giving them the best opportunities. So I hope that we can be motivated by competition. I hope that we can see the value in our traditional school system as well, because although I think these private schools are going to have their place, they will. They pretty much have their place now, and that'll continue to grow. We need to still be shown the value in our educational system. And that value is going to come by proving that we can adapt, by proving that we can leverage some of the things we're good at, the community building, the things that online education can't give. So we've got work to do. We've got real work to do. And if you're listening to this thinking, well, I'm not seeing any evidence of this coming, just do some Google searches. Synthesis School, Sora School, Kidato School. There's a reason why Eton have created EtonX, their online version of their school, because they can see it. They can see what's coming. Now, we don't have to compete on a level with companies that have a lot more money than our local schools do, that are a lot more agile. But we have to find what we're good at, and we have to be motivated by the competition to leverage what we're good at. Hopefully we can. Hopefully we can keep educating our children who aren't so fortunate for their parents to buy the more privatized education, and give them similar opportunities. Thanks for listening. I'm Dan Fitzpatrick, the AI educator, and you can sign up to the online newsletter, which I'll send out every Sunday, at theaieducator.io, and I will see you there.